BB851, turn right, heading 180. Order 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Aviation News Weekly. No, I'm not joking, I'm actually just spoiling you all now with the second Aviation News Weekly in, 2 days, so it's not technically a weekly series anymore, but we're going to keep that name. There's been so many incredible developments within this industry in the past week, and due to my scheduling and also my move to London, there's been some stories that I've simply missed out on covering. Obviously, I'd like to get to absolutely everything, but videos can take sometimes triple or 5 times the amount of time a simple article would. So when an airline, say, sends me through an email, the process is longer. If you're interested in watching a specific story, please do feel free to check the pinned comment, where I'll have specific timestamps listed for every single story for you all. This will allow you to, say, skip forward a little bit, then maybe track back, just so you don't have to watch the whole 10 minutes if you're not interested in doing that. We begin today with Delta, who at long last has taken delivery of their first A330neo. The type, which first appeared many months ago, has been undergoing flight testing, ground testing, cabin fitting, painting, and more. In November of 2014, Delta placed orders for 25 of the A330-900s. Just to clarify, there are currently 2 variants of the A330neo, the A330-800 and the A330-900, with the -900 being the longer variant, and it can be compared very well to the A330-300. They solidified their commitment to the aircraft and this variant in late 2018 when they ordered a further 10 of the type, bringing their total to 35. With the A350 already flying with Delta, this A330neo will further aid them in their plans to revolutionise their fleet over the coming years. This future fleet will consist of mostly Airbus aircraft, with the airline also having the A321neos and A220s constantly joining up in the future. The A330neo is set to be based in Seattle, with the type being used on services mostly to Asia at this point. The airline has already announced multiple destinations, with the likes of Shanghai, Seoul, and Tokyo Narita all being on the list. Interestingly enough though, the A330neo with Delta is equipped with 281 seats. This actually fits perfectly into the up-and-coming Boeing NMA's target capacity, and board members at Airbus at the Airbus Innovation Days have openly said that even their A330neo could compete with the NMA from Boeing. While capacity is certainly not everything when we're comparing aircrafts, Airbus believes that their A321neo program and A330neo program will definitely aid them in the battle for the middle of the market sector, which is really currently being won by Airbus in an uncontested battle, as Boeing is yet to really release a replacement for their 757 and 767 aircraft, which as we know did extremely well. The 737 MAX news doesn't seem to stop, with most recently me covering the compensation battle currently taking place in China. However, Ryanair, who already said they were seeking compensation, has now, according to The Independent, won a case with Boeing for compensation, which will be worth hundreds of millions of euros, following the 737 MAX groundings. As I actually covered in a video last week on the channel, the first MAX 200 for Ryanair was set to be delivered shortly to replace their older Boeing 737-800s. However, that's not been the case following these groundings, and Ryanair has indeed pushed back their deliveries to later this year, with the type flying hopefully for the first time with Ryanair during the winter season of 2019 leading into 2020. In some route news, British Airways has announced that from the 3rd of October, it will no longer be operating to both St. Petersburg and Kiev, as the routes which fly from British Airways hub, London Heathrow, make no longer commercial sense and are simply no longer viable for the carrier to continue operating. These services are just some of the many British Airways operate throughout Europe, and they're not the only carrier doing so, with other low-cost units taking a large chunk of the market share with their incredibly attractive pricing from airports like that of Luton and more. In some exciting news regarding hybrid and electric aircraft, something that certainly doesn't feature on the channel often, Airbus and SAS signed an agreement for research. The MOU, which was signed last week, will begin in June and will end at the end of 2020. It will see the pair join forces on a project to understand hybrid and full electric aircraft, something that many aircraft manufacturers are looking towards for the future of their aircraft. SAS and Airbus will work together to understand how electric aircraft will impact ground infrastructure and other critical areas for aircraft, including the speed, range, when it will become available to airlines, and just how it will actually work at airports, with gates, sky bridges, and more. It only takes a quick second to look at the A380. When this aircraft was introduced, airports had to undergo major changes, and this is something Airbus and even other aircraft manufacturers studying electric travel are looking to, well, avoid. All of these things are very important to consider given the jump in the technology, but it is necessary to ensure the genuine zero CO2 emission operations. It's no lie that air travel has improved over the years, with planes now in 2019 being around 80% more fuel efficient than those some 50 years ago. However, that does not mean that Airbus and more don't want to go further with that and make air travel even more efficient, which I'm all for, and I think many others are as well. Late last week, Boeing also announced they would be dropping the classic Embraer name from the Brazilian aviation sector, and Embraer in general, after taking over the plane maker in a deal which was seen by many as one to rival that of the Airbus and C-Series agreement. Boeing will launch it as Boeing Brazil Commercial, something that in my opinion is fancy but is not quite what Embraer was. I really liked the naming as Embraer, not just for its nifty little aircraft, but because it had a cool name, so to see it dropped entirely is quite a shame. However, with this move comes a major question. What will be happening with the Embraer aircraft? Seeming they are known as the E190, will they be known now as the Boeing 190 or something else? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. Anyway, for some backstory, this deal was signed after Boeing paid some US $4.2 billion to buy 80% of Embraer's production. Embraer focuses on producing aircraft with less than 150 seats, putting them perfectly in the regional jet market, somewhere that, looking at Boeing's current portfolio of aircraft, they're indeed lacking in. The move, also similar to the A221, is a shame for up-and-coming and already small established aircraft manufacturers, as it sees them absorbed by the big leagues, that being Airbus and Boeing. However, in saying that, I am incredibly excited to see what comes from this and what it means for the Airbus A220. As we know, Airbus and Boeing, while being very different, are very similar and use each other and feed off each other to make better aircraft for their customers. And it's a never-ending battle, which makes our industry so exciting day by day. These manufacturers are always looking for the next thing to better each other, and then the next manufacturer comes up with something else to battle with the other. It's brilliant. Moving inside the plane, we've got some pretty exciting news regarding Lufthansa and their aircraft. They will indeed be rolling out a new flight experience on their short and medium haul flights. With an improved economy seat, it will allow the backrest to be in a more comfortable position with new innovation mechanisms inside of the seat to allow passengers to be, more comfortable on these short to medium hops across Europe. Launching on their A330neo, the aircraft will feature USB ports, a tablet holder, something that's becoming more prominent in airline seatbacks nowadays, and also more personal space, which frankly you can never have enough of. On a short-haul flight though, I see it as frankly a huge bonus, as I've always been used to flying these 3-hour flights with no seatback entertainment, and really just getting used to switching off for the 3 hours and closing my eyes, throwing on a podcast or some music. The head of product management at Cabin Lufthansa said, "Many customer feedbacks have been incorporated into the design of the seat. We received a lot of positive feedback on the new features. We're therefore convinced that the new seat and the modern ambience of the cabin will further improve the travel comfort of our guests." In airport news, and some pretty exciting airport news, and what is soon to be my home airport of London Heathrow, they finally rolled out e-passport gates, and this means that people from 7 countries, including the likes of the United States, Canada and Australia, which is me, can use these gates to get into the UK a lot faster than ever before. It will also remove the need for that landing card that you have to fill out before you can actually enter the country. This is something that's an absolute win for many people. The Visit Britain director said, "The new e-gate access for eligible travellers boosts our competitive tourism offer and our message of welcome, building on the growth we've seen and inspiring even more visitors from Canada and the US to book a trip to the UK right now. adding with more direct airline routes and more daily flights from the US on offer, and with the UK offering great value and a fantastic summer of events lined up, it really is a great time to book a trip. E-passport gates already feature in other international terminals like that at Melbourne Airport, and mean you can get through passport control and entry into the country in literally a couple of seconds. This saves you a lot of time over queuing after your long international flight. It's the way of the future, and I'm all for it, as you are probably as well. That's going to conclude another Aviation News Daily. No, just kidding, it's still Aviation News Weekly, although the support on these videos have been nothing short of incredible, so providing I have the content required to fill these videos and also make daily videos, I'll definitely try and do more of them when I can. Especially with all the news regarding the 737 MAX, that's been hard to do their own separate video for because the situation is constantly updating. That kind of news can get put into this video where you can get, say, 3 stories on the MAX over me trying to do one video like I actually did last week, and then all of a sudden that video becomes irrelevant in 2 days and I have to delete it before I even get to put it out. It's pretty frustrating, but it's what happens when the 737 MAX is the most talked about aircraft and the most talked about topic in aviation as well. I should finish with a brief update regarding my move to London, as not everyone follows me over on Twitter. I mean, you should, but that's not for everyone. As I won't have a functioning setup for probably 20 days in July, I've been working to produce content in advance for you all. So this will mean that the channel won't be dead over, say, the 20 days or more. You will be seeing a video at the very least every second day. However, I've worked to ensure that on some occasions while I'm gone, you'll be seeing 3 videos in 3 days. I won't be on hand to cover your regular news during that period. However, if something major, and I mean major, happens, I'll try my very best to make a video for you all. With all those updates and just general chat completed, it is time to end the video. So thank you very much for your continued support. I do very much look forward to you all joining me in the next one.